Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Now, I have seen a lot of things in the years that I've been covering politics, and we have seen a ton of examples of Democrat politicians switching to the Republican Party. Of course, you guys already know that I mention it in pretty much every video that we cover on this topic, how it seems to only swing in one way. I can't think of a single example of a Republican switching to the Democrat Party, at least not willfully. Liz Cheney being kicked out of the Republican Party and essentially being declared a Democrat doesn't exactly count, but we've seen a bunch of examples of Democrats defecting from the out-of-control Democrat Party, but what we haven't seen is this. I mean, this headline alone is freaking nuts. An entire city council in New Jersey has just switched their party affiliation from Democrat to Republican. The entire city council. Some truly epic stuff as people continue to ditch the Democrat Party. I know it doesn't necessarily look like the Democrat Party is crumbling, at least not on a macro level, but I think it's happening slowly, bit by bit, and especially in certain regions, as being aligned with Democrats is no longer sustainable, and I think common sense is starting to prevail at least a little bit. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, take a look at this headline right over here. Entire town leadership switches party affiliation from Democrat to Republican due to, quote, nastiness. The entire city council in a New Jersey town has switched their party affiliation from Democrat to Republican, citing the nastiness and vitriol of national politics and the Dems' increasingly leftward shift. According to the Daily Record, town leaders in East Hanover, New Jersey, made the switch last week, noted Mayor Joseph Panullo. Municipal leaders have a responsibility to best represent their constituents, and it is our belief that this change of party is in the best interest of the community, Panullo said in a statement. As the nastiness, rhetoric, and social media vitriol of national politics continues to infiltrate local governance, we collectively determined that this was the best course of action to keep the focus on local issues impacting our community. The local outlet noted further. Morris County Republican Committee Chairwoman Laura Alley said in a statement that Panullo, Council President Frank DeMau, and fellow members Brian Brokaw, Carolyn Jandoli, and Michael Martorelli had all joined the GOP after months of good conversations. Panullo, who's represented the town of 11,000 people since 2007, didn't respond to messages seeking comment. He didn't cite a specific factor motivating the switch in the Republican committee statement. Of course, I am disappointed Morris County's Democratic Chairwoman Amelia Duarte said in a statement regarding the council's political shift, but the real story is that Morris County is rapidly trending more Democratic. And as we saw in the last election cycle, we won new municipal seats, flipped Morris Township to entirely Democratic, and all of our incumbents were re-elected, including in East Hanover. The Daily Record noted that the county is historically a Republican stronghold in the state. That said, Donald Trump won big in East Hanover in 2020, capturing 66% of the vote, according to state records. Now that statement from Morris County's Democrat Chairwoman Amelia Duarte saying that particular districts are shifting leftward, I have to say is absolute copium, because here is the reality. Election maps change. The pendulum always swings, and it swings differently in different districts and in different states. You know, it's possible places like Arizona and Georgia are moving more to the left, but while that's happening simultaneously, other states are moving more towards the right, and New Jersey happens to be one of those states. One last map story, a detailed look at all of New Jersey's congressional races. Democrats overall won 54.2% of the statewide vote to Republicans' 44.4%, a margin of 9.8 points. That 9.8 point win represented a 6.1% shift towards Republicans compared to the 2020 presidential election, when Joe Biden won the state by 15.9%. So in one election season from 2020 to 2022, we saw a 6.1% shift from Democrat to Republican in the state of New Jersey. We saw an even more significant shift in the 2021 special election, but of course, you expect lower turnout and different results in a special election, so it's hard to really compare them. But from the presidential election to the midterm, it's been quite significant. Here are the two maps showing a significant shift in the New Jersey legislature as well. Democrats appear to have lost a net 1 seat in the state Senate and 6 seats in the Assembly. These maps show the current party split and the one that will be in place next January pending any final ballot counts or election challenges. And so we're seeing shifts everywhere, and what's most remarkable is we're seeing shifts where you probably wouldn't expect them. You know, I definitely didn't think that the Northeast would be where Republicans would start picking up traction, start picking up steam, but that's exactly what's happening. I mean, just in the midterms that passed without New York, Republicans wouldn't be in the position that they're currently in. New York shifted significantly rightward in almost every single county, if not every single county. Democrats are doing all right in the short term, in my view, largely due to certain laws that were passed in, let's say, the last 3 years or so. But I think if we take a more holistic, macro view, we're seeing something very different different. It's becoming more and more unsustainable to be a Democrat, to align yourself with that side of the political spectrum. You know, let's go back to the original article. Entire town leadership switches party affiliation from Democrat to Republican due to, quote, nastiness. This helps me make the point that I'm trying to make here. Aligning yourself with leftoids these days is nearly impossible. And here's a great way that we could visually make that point. You know, very often Vice will do these debate panels between conservatives and left-wingers and sometimes more neutral individuals. They'll generally have a panel of around 8 people. And there's one consistent trend in all of these panels. The more far left, the more staunchly blue, staunchly Democrat, the more vicious, the more angry, the more antagonistic, and frankly insufferable the individual tends to be.
I don't want it to be personal.
A lot of us live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
Well, here's what we're going to commonly agree upon.
But who gets to choose it?
The majority culture, I suppose.
And what's majority culture?
The people with power.
And who's people with power?
Who's people with power?
White people.
Well, I don't know if that's.
I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
White people. It's okay.
I don't know if that's necessarily so true. I mean,
Wait, can you
look
unpack?
at,
Yeah.
I don't
elaborate.
I don't think a particularly white quote unquote interest controls things like
In America.
pop culture.
Do you believe
Well, I
white
think-
supremacy exists?
I think there are people who believe in it. I think there's people who all believe that their race is superior.
So you don't believe in white supremacy?
Do you believe America's a white
believe in
supremacist state?
No, not at all.
And not found
No
in
white supremacist state would even allow us to be doing this. I don't understand. So white supremacists, there's just KKK people walking.
You know, nastiness is the perfect word to describe it. I'm a firm believer that common sense in the end will eventually prevail. I'm also a firm believer that being vicious, being insufferable gets you nowhere, and eventually, being a good, normal human being will eventually prevail as well. I think leftoids are currently overstepping that boundary, and more people are just getting sick of it. They're getting sick of the vicious, psychotic behavior, the yelling on the streets, the isms, the labels, the targets, the fake news, the fake stories, the accusations. People are getting sick of these Democrats and their vicious ways, and it's showing up in examples like this, slowly but surely. And eventually, it's all gonna pile up. It's gonna be way too much, and one event is gonna be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Democrats may have a current advantage in the current system, but in the end, I think they're gonna fail. They're losing ground across the country, and it's just a matter of time. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.